that constantly keeps his purse full no matter how liberally he spends it. Income, that is the thing, ejaculated Bansir. I wish an income that will keep flowing into my purse whether I sit upon a wall or travel to far lands. Arcad must know how a man can make an income for himself. Doth suppose it's something that he can make clear to a mind as slow as mine? Methinks he did teach his knowledge to his son, Nomansir, Cobby replied. Did he not go to Nineveh and so it is told at the end become without aid from his father one of the richest men in that city? Kobe, thou bringest to me a rare thought. A new light gleamed in Bansir's eyes. It costs nothing to ask advice from a good friend, and Arcad was always that. Never mind though our purses be empty as a falcon's nest of a year ago. Let that not detain us. We are weary of being without gold in the midst of plenty. We wish to become men of means. Come, let us go to Arcad and ask how we also may acquire incomes for ourselves. Thou speakest with true inspiration, Bansir, thou bringest to my mind a new understanding. Thou makest me realize that the reason why we have never found any measure of wealth, we never sought it. Thou hadst labored patiently to build the staunchest chariots in Babylon. To that purpose was devoted your best endeavors. Therefore, at it thou didst succeed. I strove to become a skilful lyre player, and at it I did succeed. In those things towards which we exerted our best endeavors we succeeded. The gods were content to let us continue thus. Now, at last, we see a light, bright like the light from the rising sun. It biddeth us to learn more that we may prosper more. With a new understanding we shall find honorable ways to accomplish our desires. Let us go, Arcad. Let us go to Arcad this very day, Bansir urged. Also, let us ask other friends of our boyhood days who have fared no better than ourselves to join us, so they too may share in his wisdom. Thou wert ever thus thoughtful of thy friends, Bansir. Therefore hadst thou many friends. It shall be thou sayest. It shall be as thou sayest. We go this day and take them with us. The richest man in Babylon. In old Babylon there once lived a certain very rich man named Arcad. Far and wide he was famed for his great wealth, also be famed for his liberality. He was generous in his charities, he was generous with his family. He was liberal in his own expenses, but nevertheless each year wealth increased more rapidly than he spent it. And there were certain friends of younger days who came to him and said, You, Arcad, are more fortunate than we. You have become the richest man in all Babylon while we struggle for existence. You can wear the finest garments and you can enjoy the rarest foods, while we must be content if we can clothe our families in raiments that is presentable as feed, that is presentable. Okay, so while we must be content if we can clothe our families in raiment that is presentable and feed them as best as we can. Yet once we were equal, we studied under the same master, we played the same games, and in neither the studies or the games did you outshine us. And in the years since you have been no more honorable citizen than we. Nor have you worked harder or more faithfully in so far as we can judge. Why then should a fickle fate single you out and enjoy all the good things in life and ignore us who are equally deserving? Thereupon Arcad remonstrated with them, saying, If you have not acquired more than a bare existence in the years since we were youth, it's because you have failed to learn the laws that govern the building of wealth, or else you do not observe them. Fickle fate is a vicious goddess who brings no permanent good to anyone. On the contrary, she brings ruin to almost every man upon whom she showers unearned gold. She makes wanton splendors who dissipate all they receive and are left beset by overwhelming appetites. Desires they have not the ability to gratify. Yet others whom she favors become misers and hoard their wealth, fearing to spend what they have, knowing they do not possess the ability to replace it. They further are beset by the fear of robbers and doom themselves to the lives of emptiness and secret misery. Others there probably are who can take unearned gold and add it to continue to be happy and contented citizens, but so few are they, I know of them but by hearsay. Think of you men who have inherited sunted wealth, and see if things are not so. His friends admitted that of the men that they knew who had inherited wealth, these words were true, and they besought him to explain to him how he had become possessed of much prosperity. So he continued, In my youth I looked about me and saw all the good things there were to bring happiness and contentment, and I realized that wealth increased the potency of all these. Wealth is a power. With wealth many things are possible. One may ornament the home with the richest of furnishings. One may sail the distant seas. One may feast on the delicacies of far lands. One may buy the ornaments of the gold worker and stone polisher. One may even build mighty temples for the gods. One may do all these things and many others in which there is delight for the senses and gratification for the soul. And when I realized all this, I decided to myself that I would claim my share of good things in life. I would not be one of those who stand afar off, enviously watching others enjoy. I would not be content to clothe myself in the cheapest raiment that looked respectable. I would not be satisfied with the lot of a poor man. On the contrary, I would make myself a guest at this banquet of good things. Being, as you know, the son of a humble merchant, one of the large family, with no hope of an inheritance, and not being endowed, as you have so frankly said, with the superior powers or wisdom, I decided that if I was to achieve what I desired, time and study would be required. As for time, all men have an abundance. You, each of you, have let sufficient time to have made yourselves wealthy. Yet you admit you have nothing to show except for your good families, of which you can be justly proud. As for the study, did not our wise teacher teach us that learning was of two kinds? The one kind being the things that we learned and knew, and the other being the training that taught us how to find out what we did not know. Therefore did I decide to find out how one might accumulate wealth, and when I have found out, to make this my task and to do it well. For is it not wise that we should enjoy while we dwell in the brightness of the sunshine? For sorrows enough shall descend upon us when we depart from darkness of this world of spirit. I found employment as a scribe in the hall of records, and long hours each day I labored upon the clay tablets. Week after week, month after month I labored, yet for my earnings I had naught to show, food and clothing and penance to the gods, and the other things of which I can remember not what, absorbed all my earnings, but my determination did not leave me. And one day Algamish, the moneylender, came to the house of the city master and ordered a copy of the ninth law, and said to me, I must have this in 2 days, and if the task is done by that time, 2 coppers I will give thee. So I labored hard, but the law was long, and Algamish returned with the task unfinished. He was angry, and I had been his slave. Had I been his slave, he would have beaten me. But knowing the city master would not permit him to injure me, I was unafraid, so I said to him, Algamish, you are a very rich man. Tell me how I may also become rich, and all night I will carve upon the clay, and when the sun rises it shall be completed. He smiled at me and replied, You are a forward knave, but we will call it a bargain. All night I carved, though my back pained and the smell of wick made my head ache until my eyes could hardly see. But when he returned at sunup, the tablets were complete. Now, I said, tell me what you promised. You have fulfilled your part of our bargain, my son, he said kindly to me, and I am ready to fulfill mine. I will tell you all the things you wish to know because I am becoming an old man, and old tongues love to wag, and when youth comes to age for advice he receives wisdom of years. But too often does youth think that age knows only the wisdom of days that are gone, and therefore profits not. But remember this, the sun that shines today is the sun that shone when thy father was born, and it will be shining when thy last grandchild shall pass into darkness. The thoughts of youth, he continued, are bright lights that shine forth like meteors, that often make the brilliant sky, but the wisdom of age is like a fixed star that shines so unchanged that your sailor may depend upon them to steer his course. Mark you well my words, for if you do not, you will fail to grasp the truth that I will tell you, and you will think that your night's work has been in vain. Then he looked at me shrewdly from under his shaggy brows and said in a low, forceful tone, I found the road to wealth when I decided that the part of all I earned was mine to keep. That part of all I earned was mine to keep, and so will you. Then he continued to look at me with the glance that I could feel pierce me, but said no more. Is that all? That was sufficient to change the heart of a sheep herder into the heart of a money lender, he replied. But all I earn is mine to keep, is it not? I demanded. Far from it, he replied. Do you not pay the garment maker? Do you not pay the sandal maker? Do you not pay for the things you eat? Can you live in Babylon without spending? What have you to show for your earnings of the past month? What for the past year? Fool, you pay everyone but yourself. Dullard, you labor for others. As well be a slave and work for what your master gives you, to eat and wear. If you did keep for yourself 1/10 of all you earn, how much would you have in 10 years? My knowledge of numbers did not forsake me, and I answered, as much as I earn in 1 year? You speak but half truth, he retorted. Every gold piece you save is a slave to work for you. Every copper it earns is its child that can also earn for you. If you would become wealthy, then you must save what you if you would become wealthy, then what you save must earn, and its children must earn, that all may help to give you the abundance you crave. You think I cheat for you for your long night's work, he continued, but I am paying you 1,000 times over if you have the intelligence to grasp the truth I offered you. A part of all you earn is yours to keep. It should not be less than 1/10, no matter how little you earn. It can be as much more as you can afford. Pay yourself first. Do not buy from clothes makers and sandal makers more than you can pay out of the rest, and still have enough food for charity and penance to the gods. Wealth, like a tree, grows from a tiny seed. The first copper you save is the seed from which your tree of wealth shall grow. The sooner you plant that seed, the sooner the tree shall grow. And when the more faithfully you nourish the water that tree will consistent savings, the sooner you may bask in contentment beneath its shade. So saying, he took his tablets and went away. I thought much about what he had said to me, and it seemed reasonable, so I decided that I would try it. Each time I was paid, I took one from each 10 pieces of copper and hid it away. And strange as it may seem, I was no shorter of funds than before. I noticed little differences as I managed to get along without it. But often I was tempted, as my hoard began to grow, to spend for some of the good things the merchant was displayed, brought by my camels and ships from the land of the Phoenicians, but I was wisely refrained. A 12th month after Algamish had gone, he again returned and said to me, Son, have you paid to yourself no less than 1/10 of all that you have earned in the past year? I answered proudly, Yes, master, I have. That is good, he answered, beaming upon me. And what have you done with it? I have given it to Asmur, the brickmaker, who told me he was traveling over the far seas, and in Tyre he would buy for me the rarest jewels of the Phoenicians, and when he returns we shall see these at high prices and divide the earnings. Every fool must learn, he growled, but why trust the knowledge of a brickmaker about jewels? Would you go to the bread maker to inquire about the stars? No, by my tunic you would go to the astrologer if you had the power to think. Your savings are gone, youth.